Hi, welcome to Analytics for All. This is lesson 10 in our Python for Data Science course. In this lesson, we'll be covering loops, for and while loops. As with all my lessons, I have a full write-up on my website, analyticsforall.org. I will post a link to this down in the description. And I do have, although I recommend you download and install the Anaconda distribution, which I'm using, I do add, if you can look for the blue arrows on my website, this will bring you to a Python testing shell which you can run in your browser. Let's go ahead now and we're going to jump over to the Jupyter notebook I got here. Now, we're going to be doing loops, which is a way of iterating or skipping around through things, okay? So the idea is to do multiple steps. So let's say I wanted to print the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would have to traditionally actually type in print 1, print 2, print 3, print 4, and print 5. All right. So I'd have to type all those print statements in to get this, okay? As opposed to using a loop. It's another approach here. So I can use a loop to do the same thing. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say for I. Now this is you can use any variable you want. It's an iterator. I just use I because I is a common thing, but this could be X, this could be B, wherever you want. You can call it donkey, I don't care. But so it's for your iterable variable in, and notice here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in my brackets. What do we got here? This is a list, right? Okay. Then colon. Again, now just like with our if-then statements, we got the white space that says print. And notice this one now, I don't have any white space here. So this one means we're outside the loop because I brought it back. So inside, indented, you're inside the loop. This is outside. So here's what's going to happen. So it prints 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then hello. See, hello only prints once because it's outside of the loop. And that's, for the indentation. Okay. So let's keep going. Now you notice I don't need to go in order. I could simply print, I could make a loop that has different numbers and do the same thing, print I. The numbers are in any order. And as I said, this is a list. So I could just assign and create a list up here. And notice now I say for I in list, I want you to print I. And of course, you're not limited to just numbers. I could have a list of words, donkey, monkey, alpaca. And it'll come out there. And another thing you can do is range. Now, range, as you're going to see, is the code. So I have I in range, and then in parentheses, I've got my starting point and my ending point of my range, and I go to print. Notice it doesn't, it starts at the starting point. So 0, you'll get 0, but you will not get 3 because it stops there. So if you wanted to actually go to 3, you would change this to 4, and now you could run it. Okay? And you could also change this to 2. Let's change this to 6 and see what happens there. So. All right, so this is your starting point. Remember, the starting point actually happens. It stops before this point. So always remember if you got to make it one more than you want to stop at. Another thing you can do here is I can give it a step. So I've got my starting point, I have my stopping point, and I have 2. 2 is my step, which means I want to count by 2s. So I don't want to count by 1. I don't want to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead, I go 0, 2, 4, 8, 6. And again, doesn't make it to 10 because it stops there. I could change this, I could count by 3, and you could put 1 for whatever reason you'd want to do that, but it would count by 1. I mean, you could just leave it out to get 1. So that's what that is. That's your step. So remember, your range is your starting point, which gets included, your ending point, which will stop one before, and then this is your step, however you want to step by. Okay? So that's for loops. That's the introduction idea to for loops. And again, I'm not going to beat these up because we are using so much of these going forward in the code. I just want you to see them. You're going to see them a whole bunch of times. I really think the idea of like doing exercises at this point is counterproductive. Instead, just see the material, understand it, and then as we go into the actual projects, that's when you're going to start to use this a lot. Okay? I do think, especially in something like data science analytics, we want to be a project-based thinking process. So we're going to quickly go through the material as fast as we can to get to the point where we can start building programs and doing some logic, okay? All right, so the next one we're going to do is a while loop. Now, a while loop's a little different. Where the for loop starts at the top and kind of goes down. It says we're going to count down, wherever you set it at. The while loop is kind of a count out, if you know what I mean. It's kind of, let's describe it here. So we start with a variable, and I assign this variable the value of 1. And then I'm going to say while x is less than 5, I want you to print x. And again, this x could be, we could do anything we wanted. We could change this variable name. I want you to print x. And then here, x plus equals 1. This is shorthand in Python for x equals x plus 1. So we're iterating the value up each time. So each time this loop goes through, it's going to count up 1 on us. So it goes while it's less than 5. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. But you have to have this count out, otherwise this will go on forever. I've made this mistake where I've forgotten to add that layer there, and then it just goes. And you'll see it just going on forever until I stop it. Okay, so we'll stop it, bring it back to reality here, put the counter back in to stop it, and go. There it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so moving on to the next one. And again, we're going to see so much in this in the forward lessons, so we're kind of going through it quickly. X equals 1. While x is less than 5, we're going to add something called a break. So in here we got our conditional logic in. Remember, there are if-then statement here. So if you didn't watch the last statement, you might not understand this one, last lesson. We're going to say if x equals 3, I want you to break. Print x and x plus 1. All right, so here's what happens. 1, 2, and it breaks. Break means just stop the loop. The loop is over. Kill the loop. And this is one of the great advantages of the while loop over the fors, that you can have these, this great break system in there. All right. Another thing now, let's try this again. I got it set x is 0. If x is less than 5, I got the iterate up front here. Now, if x equals 2, continue. All right, so this is a little different. What this does, you'll see, is it goes 1, skips 2, because it equals, then it continues on. It doesn't break like here. It doesn't end the loop. It just tells the loop to keep going, but it skips the one condition we want out of there. All right? And the last thing we'll look at here, and maybe I got to bring this a little bit farther down so you can see better when the answers come out. All right, so we'll go one more. We're going to say while x is less than 5, iterate it by 1, print x, else. I can add an else statement without even having the if then. The else is of the while. So while this is true, do this. Else, do this. So it'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it says loop is over. Okay, and notice it got to 5 because the iterator's up here above the print statement. If I do this, if I move this down here, and that's important in these loops as to where you place stuff. But if I put the iterator down here, if I say x plus 1, then notice we don't get to 5. And obviously one more thing to think about that I could, you can step. I don't have to go up by 1. I could step by 2s here, however you want to do the step. But this is just, again, here's a quick look at while and for loops. I'll have the link back to my website if you want to go back and read about it a little bit. I wouldn't stress too much because we're going to be using this so much going forward that you're going to be sick of while and for loops by the time this course is over. All right. Again, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit the like and subscribe button. Leave me a comment below. And I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much. Bye.